Okay, moment of truth. Didn't explode. All right.
Attention YouTube reviewer, the following video is filmed on a private gun range by a firearms expert. All firearms are handled responsibly and at no point are any bystanders present or ever at risk. The following video also contains no footage of full auto firearms, bump stocks, firearm modifications, or firearm ammunition cells as defined by YouTube's community guidelines. This includes our outro.
Welcome back, guys. Today is going to be probably the last video in the restoration series of the M95 here. I probably will do some more stuff with it in the future, but I think this is going to wrap up the series specifically on this rifle as far as right now. Now, I'd like to thank Old South Ammo for supplying the ammunition for this, for all the shooting I did with this rifle. And the ammunition that they had was extremely good. And we'll talk about that here in a little while.
Before we get into it though, let's talk about the sponsor of this video, and that is going to be Royal Tiger Imports. They were gracious enough to supply me with this rifle for this series, and they're working with me on this series right here. And hopefully, with my fingers crossed, I'll be able to work with them in the future as well. So please check out their website. They got all kinds of great collectibles and antiques, as well as some PoE type things as well. And they also just got in a shipment of FAL parts. It's a mixed bag from what I understand. I think they do have some complete rifles as well. I'm not 100%. I haven't checked the website in a good minute. So check them out. Link and everything's right here. And support them, the people who support us. So let's get into it.
So this rifle was sent to us by Royal Tiger Imports to do this restoration series on. And it was in decent but rough shape when I received it. And it was pretty much mostly complete. The only things that I really had to replace was the 2 screws for the bands here. Those were pretty much the one that was on this front here was completely trashed. I couldn't do much with it. And the one that was over here was just a aluminum pin that was driven through it. Lucky enough, I found some really neat looking brass screws to use for that actually kind of, you know, looks pretty cool on it. Not correct, but it looks nice. And then the only other thing the rifle was missing was whatever went right here. Now I'm not sure if on the M95s if there was a doping plate there, like with some of the Mausers. I'm not 100% sure. Who knows? But otherwise than that, the rifle was in fairly good shape. Now, the biggest issue with the rifle as far as shooting is the bore is pretty trashed. It's seen better days. It's probably the worst bore that I have out of my entire collection. Now,
This on top?
In the shooting,
Okay.
it didn't shoot that bad. It did shoot about a foot high. Which,
high.
you know, actually it was more than
Okay.
a foot. It was probably close to like 3 feet high, if I'm remembering correctly, which is pretty bad.
There we go.
But that could be a couple different things. It could be the barrel itself, with how bad it is, could be causing that. Which, if that's the case, that's best case scenario because it was shooting very consistently that high, which is good. It means that could be mitigated with some practice shooting. I don't believe it's necessarily the sights because although the front sight can be drifted for windage, it cannot be drifted for elevation, and the rear sight is actually fixed. Now, you may be saying, oh, but it's got a slider on it. Well, on this particular style of it, it's got a fixed rear sight that goes with the front sight, and then the ladder is actually specifically just for volley fire. And as you can see here, it's not very tight, which can be corrected. I believe I could probably go through and just bend it just a little bit so it holds on there. Now, I didn't try with the volley sight up like this to see if it was any different. But when I measured the height of the top of the U and the top of the U here, they're about the same. So I don't think that's the issue. I think it's just simply the bore is so shot out that it's, well, not even shot out, just rusted out, that it shoots high. Now, you can see here, even with the ladder down all the way, this does not do anything at all. There's no ramp for it at all, to lift up at all. If this was to be an adjustable rear sight, the pivot point would actually be in the front, and the ramp would go up here, so as you move the slider back, the rear sight would lift upwards. But we don't have that. It pivots on the rear sight. So this is a fixed rear sight, and it can't really be changed in any way. Now, it's possible I could drift off this blade and put a slightly taller, would it be taller? Yeah, a taller blade to drive that point of angle down. We'll see. Now, as y'all saw with this rifle, this is the first one that I've done that I've completely done a full restoration on. Generally, I don't like to do full restorations because I like to have the natural look of the firearm from the age. That's how all my other surplus guns are, with a few exceptions. For instance, my old double barrel, I did a complete restoration on that one because it wasn't a military firearm, and I did the stock and all that stuff like that. And everything else that's military surplus, I try to leave alone as much as possible. I do maintenance, stop rust, stuff like that, but I try not to do full restorations. But on this rifle here, because it was so rough, and I wanted to do a full restoration on a firearm that was pretty bad shape, so I went ahead and I said, you know what, we're gonna completely do the full works on this gun because I want the project, and I wanted something that's going to give that content out there. Now, there are a couple different things that I did when the hardest thing was doing the stock itself. For instance, getting out over 100 years of oil and grime out of it was a bit challenging. It wasn't so bad, as you saw I use that Velspar stripper, which worked pretty good. However, it did have some drawbacks. So for instance, on this upper handguard, that stuff seems to be really, really rough on certain types of wood or thin pieces of wood. It was actually eating up this upper handguard a little bit. So I did have to do a little bit in here to strengthen that up. I did have to trim the wood handguard just a little bit because it was all shattered up. It actually is supposed to come out here directly to match the lower handguard, but it was so tore up that it was going to look better if I trimmed it to be flush with the forward band here. So I did that. As far as the stain, I wanted a lighter colored stock because most of my surplus are pretty dark. I mean, the lightest one I got is my Type 99 Arisaka. It's pretty blonde. It's not super blonde, but I wanted something that was still going to show the age, but was going to be light. And the reason I did the stripper method is because I didn't want to sand this stock at all. The only sanding I did on the stock was with a quad zero steel wool, just for getting the fibers down. I wanted to leave everything as original as possible, and it came out real nice. I used one real thin coat of a a dark mahogany stain on it. I just wiped it off, and then 1 coat of boiled linseed oil on it. Now, the upper stock was the hard part. I'm convinced that this is a different type of wood, just because everything I did to it just didn't work properly. For instance, the stain, it absorbed the stain really good, and it was super dark and didn't match the wood at all. Same thing with the linseed oil. Once I worked with the stain to where dry, it looks similar to this. Once I put the linseed oil on, it just turned straight dark. So it took me a lot of time. I think I stripped this piece like 3 or 4 times in order to get it to match as close as possible to the rest of the stock. And to be honest, it still doesn't match perfectly, but it's pretty close. So don't know what the situation was that. I wasn't able to find really any information about what type of wood the stock was made from to begin with, and if there was a different type of wood they used for the upper handguard and whatnot. As far as the metal was pretty much the easy part with the exception of the barrel. I did my normal method, pulled it out, cleaned it up real good, hit it with 1000 grit sandpaper and the steel wool just to remove the pre-existing blue and rust. Then I heated it up and cold blued it, and it came out really, really nice. And of course, a nice heavy coat of oil after that. Let it soak in, wipe it clean, and boom, we got our bluing done, and it looks relatively good. I could probably, someone who's really good with surplus, really knows surplus, could probably pick up the rifle and identify that it's been refinished. However, it is not as glaringly obvious as, say, my Carcano that I had in a couple videos back, that it's been refinished. And that's because I intentionally wanted to refinish it with the matte, flat, military style stock, not something shiny or anything like that. I would say a decent amount of people could probably look at the rifle and be like, yeah, it's been refinished. But there's probably a lot of people looking and be like, oh, wow, it looks original. So I think personally, I did a decent job with it, and it looks really good. And it goes really well on the wall with the rest of the bolt guns. Now, as far as operation of the gun itself, shoots really good. The action is pretty smooth. Not quite as smooth as, say, my Swiss. But pretty good. Now there is some hang-ups here. The bolt back here, the bolt catch is a little chewed up. So if you really rack this thing back, you can actually take the bolt completely out by accident by overpowering that catch, just because how chewed it up is. So you gotta be a little careful there. Besides that, as far as action goes, runs pretty good. It's a little hangy here and there, but you know, what do you expect? This thing's, you know, over 100 years old. As far as shooting goes, only big problem that I had with it, like I said, is it shoots high, and then I did have one cartridge have blow by. And basically what happened is it was literally the last shot of the entire filming session, the last shot of the whole day. And of course, I didn't have my glasses on because I was laying on my side shooting it before, trying to see, you know, my normal, you know, tactical shooting stuff like that. And oddly enough, even with the gun sideways, it still shoots like 3 feet high. Don't ask me how that works, but the very last shot, I was just sitting or kneeling, and this thing just blasted me in the face with gas and oil. It's weird, it still shoots high when the barrel's a different orientation. Ooh. Ooh, got a bit of blast back that time. Oh. Ooh, that was fun. All right, so this is that one that just blasted me back in the face with gas. And you can see the difference here between these cases. There's no carbon on the, around here, around the throat, or any on the head. See here, there's a ton of carbon on the head here. Oh, sorry. ton of carbon on the head here, and then carbon on the back here. So I don't know, I guess that one just didn't get a good seal. Maybe it was not fully formed to create a good seal, and it allowed some blowback. I don't know. You know, that's fun. I'm trying to think last time I've been blasted in the face like that with smoke and crud and stuff. It's been a while. And when you know it, it's the second shot that I took off the glasses. I swear. And a couple different things. I spoke to my rep over at Old, who supplied the ammo over at Old South Ammo, and he said one thing it could have been is because I had this barrel in the chamber nice and oiled for ease of feed and keep it from jamming, and to kind of help work out any rust or anything that was in there, even though I hit it with the brush. He said it's possible that there's some oil could have built up right there in the chamber, and when the cartridge expanded, instead of making a good seal up against the chamber, it forced that oil backwards with a little bit of gas. And it's a bolt gun. It's known to happen. There's a lot of bolt guns that actually do gas vents on the top of the receiver right here over the chamber for that type of situation, where if you have a case head separation or something like that, some type of malfunction with the case where gas would normally blast straight back at you, instead a majority of it would vent straight up out of the chamber. And unfortunately with bolt guns, that's always something you got to watch out for, because you don't have anything covering this or this here. Gas has a solid way to come straight back with towards your face. So, you know, not the first time I've been hit in the face with hot gas. Over my life, I've had everything from hot hydraulic fluid to gasoline in my eyes. It's a miracle I still have vision. But besides that, ran perfectly good. Now the ammunition that was supplied to me is a different profile from the original ammunition, and Old South was gracious enough to send me a bunch of these dummy rounds. Now they make their 8x50 out of 7.62x54R brass. So, you know, that's out a lot of people. What you can actually do with these is, if you can reload 8x50, you can actually fire form 7.62x54R and a moniker to get the case out to the right size. However, it's not going to be accurate at all, because the bullet's going to more or less just bounce up and down through the barrel, and I'm not sure how great that is for your barrel. Now, the problem that I had with the ammunition supplied is it does not match the geometry that the feeding system was designed for. So, for instance, these are the Spitzers he sent me, and you can see the difference in the geometry of the bullet itself. They're about the same length, but this big, long, round nose at the end makes a huge difference. And even the soft points that they sent out to me still aren't quite. I suspected these would have fed fine if they were long enough. But unfortunately, they were not long enough. They would not feed out of the clip, which is why they sent me this really cool little device. And let me eject it. And it's this little feed ramp here. Now, they know that the ammunition they produce won't feed in these rifles very well, so they sell this neat little 3D printed feed ramp. And basically what this is it pretty much goes in and clips in the exact same way as the factory clip does, but it just makes a flat surface for you to just drop in one shell at a time. And to be honest, with a gun like this, with how hard 8x50 is to find, to be honest, this is probably about the majority of the shooting you can be doing is single shots. Now, I wish I could get it to feed from a clip like this, but most people are going to be using their monikers for some planking here and there, maybe some deer hunting, and something like this is just fine. Now, when I got this one here, it was a little tight and I couldn't get to eject, and I did have to sand this little flat section right here just a little bit so that the catch didn't have to go so far and it can eject properly. And you can see here, it goes straight down hard to see from this angle. Straight down, and you just push it in, and it locks in just like any magazine. And then of course you can eject it like any magazine. Now something with these rifles is say you got it closed like this, you can actually eject it like this, and when you sometimes it'll do it. When you pull the bolt back, it will just pop out the top, kind of like a M1 Garand kind of. Now, with the proper shaped bullets, now these are dummies. You can see they all have either no primer at all or anything. With the proper bullets, this rifle will operate perfectly fine. And now I'm gonna have to find all of those. Anyways, so that's a really cool little solution here for the problems with the bullet designs. I suspect the reason why they use the projectiles they do because they're commonly available projectiles. Now, when I was speaking to the rep, he told me how they go about choosing what ammo they're gonna make is actually really ingenious. They told me pretty much he goes on AmmoSeek and he types in whatever cartridge that he thinks there might be a market for, and if he sees no one selling it, that's what they decide to make. So that's a really cool business model if you ask me, just because it means that there's somebody out there who's actually caring about making the stuff that's hard to find. So a big thanks to them for helping us out with this video.
We'll return after these messages.
Do you hate energy drinks that taste too strong, have artificial sweeteners, or tons of syrup in them, tons of caffeine, makes you jittery, a little, crackheady like? Well, guess what you're probably gonna like? Liquid Freedom Energy by Blood of Tyrants. These guys have been working here with the partners, been working here at the channel here for about a month now. Started just before the New Mexico trip when I introduced them up on the mountain. Now, this is a non-carbonated, non-artificially sweetened, non-syrup sweetened energy drink with low caffeine at about 100 milligrams. And it's all sweetened with stevia and monk fruit extract. So good natural sweeteners, but this is not an overly sweet product. It is actually pretty mild. It tastes just like a slightly sweetened raspberry tea, which I like. Personally, I'm a lemon tea guy. Hopefully they'll come out with a sweet lemon tea in the future. Live in Texas, so sue me. The South. But anyways, these guys are really great. Their parent company is Blood of Tyrants. They make wine as well, along with some cool little accessories and stuff like that. I'm gonna have the link right here on the screen along with a QR code. So please go check out the people who support us and support them because they support us. And well, it's liquid freedom. What more do you want? Freedom. So anyways, guys, let's get back to the content. All right, so we're gonna try one of these round soft nose. Against that, we're gonna see if we can catch it in the body armor. I think we probably can. And then after that, we're gonna test and see if we can if the body armor will stop one of the Spitzers, which I don't think it will. So here we go for science. Interesting. Not much blowback to me. The target looks pretty messed up. Ooh. It's in there. We stopped it. Oh. If I can get it out, pretty mangled. Now it's interesting that it didn't splash back anywhere near as bad as 760 by 54R with a Spitzer. Get this out of here. Come on, almost, there, almost. It's pretty mangled and hanging up on the Kevlar. Oh, there we go. Well, I mean, I got a piece of the jacket. Oh, there's more of it. Right up over here, I think. Yeah, there's the main bullet. Well, part of the main bullet. Okay, well, I think that's all we're gonna get. But that jacket gnarled up pretty good there. Definitely would drop a deer, no problem. Okay. Our next test. Let's see if it will stop one of the Spitzers or if it's gonna go straight through it. We'll see. I'm gonna kind of aim slightly towards the right of center and see how it does. And fire. Straight through it. I pretty much expected that for a couple reasons. First of all, this target has been pretty well shot. I'm not sure where the exit is. Yeah, right there. Popped a nice little hole in the Kevlar right there. So this target has been pretty well shot. I've been using it for a bunch of testing today with 9mm. But this was from when I did the National Body Armor video last year. And this plate was one of the ones that I only shot a couple times. And it has held up against all the 9mm that I've been shooting today. So shout out to National Body Armor for sending us these plates last year for that video. And I'll add the link to that video here on the screen or in the description, or I'll tag it as a connected video or something like that. But anyways, yeah, that's good right there. Stop recording. Now, what are my plans for this rifle in the future? I would love to shoot a hog or a javelina or something with this rifle, but with the way the accuracy currently is, I don't think that's really feasible. Now, what am I going to do about that in the future? Well, I do have a couple plans. So, like I mentioned earlier, this rifle, you can fire from 7.62 by 54R in it, and the brass that makes it can be made from 7.60 by 54R. Luckily enough, the head, the rim and everything for the cases are almost identical, so the bolt does not need any modifications, and it will strip and feed these just fine. So what my plan is, eventually one day later on the road, when I have extra money to throw at this project, when I don't have other projects that are, asking for money, is to pull off this barrel, send it off to a reputable barrel maker, and have a clone barrel made for it in 7.62 by 54R. And that way I will have a cartridge that is far more available, that I can order online a lot easier and shoot a lot cheaper. Now, of course, Old South, they don't charge too much for this stuff. It's actually comparable to any other, older or harder to find ammunition. It's not too bad. But I would like to be able to, like, say, get a spam can of 7.60 by 54R, which I have some, and be able to run this rifle with it. So that's one idea. Another thing, well, no, because I can't make this thing run without loading custom projectiles. So, it's probably just going to end up one day just being a, single shot, deer rifle or something like that, or hog rifle. Take it out every once in a while with the friends, run it, stuff like that. But it's a good addition to the collection because, well, I like collecting military surplus, and boom, this is military surplus. And in this rifle is actually very important for a lot of military design history. For instance, the magazine system was used by some of the French rifles. It was used by the Carcano, and then it was adapted to be used in the M1 Grand. So, you know, it is a very historically and mechanically important rifle. And then, of course, you know, the straight pull action later on got adopted by the Swiss. And there's a handful of straight pull rifles out there as it is. So it is a very important rifle historically in military history. So it's always great to have the collection. So let's go over some of the ergonomics of the rifle. So basic, you got your straight pull action. All you do is straight forward and back. And what it has a camming surface inside of the bolt carrier that cams on the bolt and allows the bolt to rotate on and off out of the engagement of the locking lugs inside of the receiver. Go back. You have a firing pin right here. This is like with a lot of Mausers and stuff like that have the attachment. You can actually lower your firing pin down like that, or if you really need to lock your firing pin again for another shot, like say you got a bad primer, you want to try to hit again before ejecting that round, you can just pull it back again. You have a safety right here that I don't think you can actually engage it with the firing pin back. Or no, I didn't have the bolt back all the way. Yeah, so with the, you got to make sure the carrier's in all the way. You flip it up. You got your trigger is disconnected, so you can't do anything with the trigger. You can't pull the bolt back at all. You drop it like that. Now, if you drop your firing pin down as well, you can lock it again. Can't do anything with your bolt. You can't bring back your firing pin at all. So pretty basic safety. It's real similar to most other bolt action rifles, but you know, this got a little bit of flair. And then of course down here, you got your magazine ejection. For instance, if you need to drop out your clip, you press this button right here with you can do it with the bolt shut, and then in theory, when you rack it back, it will shoot out the top. It's when sometimes doesn't do it. It's kind of like the Carcano. Sometimes the Carcano, you have to have the bolt shut to be able to press it. It's this one here. It seems that when you press with the bolt shut, sometimes it locks back on and it won't eject. So, you know, bolt up, eject it, you fling it off into the moon, and then you lose your ammo or your clip or whatnot. And then you got your bayonet lug up front and a stacking rod, iron sights. You have your sling swivel right here and down here. Like I said, that's where I'm assuming used to be a plate for a dope chart, and then you have no cleaning kit or anything like that. And this rifle, I don't believe these came with cleaning rods either. So kind of, you know, a little old school there. If you want to take out the bolt, you're gonna bring your bolt back all the way, and then like the Carcano, you're going to press your trigger forward and take the bolt out all the way. Now, I'm not going to take the bolt out all the way because this particular rifle, the bolt's a pain in the ass to get back in. Because basically what you have to do in order to get the rifle back in, you have to make sure the bolt is rotated and lined up to go into the receiver. Now, because this rifle is so old and worn, the little surfaces where everything engages are kind of worn. So the bolt doesn't like to stay straight in line like that. It likes to pop out of place. So it's kind of a pain to try to get the bolt back in. Getting it out, not a problem. Sometimes it will lock up a little bit because that bolt would try to rotate about right here and it would kind of hang up. But besides that, it's not so bad. With a really good example where it's not really worn out and beat, you don't have that issue and you could get the bolt in and out pretty easily. And then, like I said earlier, you got your volley sights here. You flip up your ladder and just raise up and down for your volley fire. Besides that, it's your basic moniker bolt action rifle. But it's a nice piece of history. It's a nice little handy rifle. If this thing was accurate, I would like to shoot this thing a lot because I really love my Swiss. That thing is such a sweet shooting rifle. But this thing is just, it's just so nice feeling. It's a good. You got that semi-pistol grip here. It's a nice feeling rifle when you shoot it. The recoil on these cartridges are not all that hot. It doesn't recoil that hard. It's not like, you know, like an M44 Mosin carbine that will beat you up over a shooting session. It's pretty mild. I would say it's comparable to 303 British, kind of somewhere in there, around the 303 British range. So I mean, not a butt kicking cartridge by all means, but a good cartridge. Definitely you can down deer with it. Definitely bad guy is going to hit the ground. But besides that, it's a pretty good shooting rifle. Ergonomics are pretty good. It's just a good rifle, you know, just is a good rifle. If you have a chance of getting one of these Royal Tiger imports, people have problems with Royal Tiger imports because a lot of times they don't truly know what they're buying. So for instance, you buy this rifle. This is a grade B that I bought, which means it's not the best grade that you can get. There are 2 grades of rifles that you can get above grade B, I believe, from Royal Tiger. There's the grade A's, and then they have a restored grade that they sometimes sell, in which they take a good grade A that may be missing parts, they put the parts on it and clean it up even more. And then they do have a grade that's lower than grade B, and that's a grade C. So temper your expectations when you buy stuff like this. You have to understand, these rifles, they're found in warehouses in Ethiopia and in countries in Africa and stuff like that. And they're stacked up in these pallets like Jenga blocks, and they're covered in dust. They haven't been touched in 80 years or longer, you know, since World War II probably. And, you know, they're just sitting there collecting dust and rusting and stuff like that. They haven't been maintained. And then over the years, parts have been scavenged off them here and there, you know. Some guy, you know, probably came in there, he grabbed a rifle because, you know, he needs a rifle for whatever he's doing, and then he snatches the parts to make a complete rifle. So you have to understand that these rifles, they're not meant to be perfect guns when you order them, especially the Class Bs or Class Cs, the grade Bs and Cs. A lot of people buy a grade B rifle because it's a great deal, and they're expecting to get grandpa's World War II bring back that's been sitting in the closet for 60 years. You know, just collecting dust. They're expecting a nice rifle, and that is not usually what you get. Usually you get a rifle that needs some work and some parts, and the barrel may be shot out, or maybe missing a firing pin, or maybe missing the bolt entirely. You know, it all depends. You can hand select on the website, I believe, so to get a better rifle, or you can buy a better grade. If you're looking for something that's a 100% a nice rifle ready to shoot, and you're not expecting issues, I wouldn't buy from Royal Tiger unless you're buying one of the restored ones. Go secondhand, something like that. But if you're wanting something that you get to be proud of, that you restored to put back together, and you can say, hey, look, this is what this pile of junk looked like when I got it. This is what it looks like now, and this is the deer I shot with it last year. You know, then this is kind of what you want to be. Just keep in mind the main things you're going to want to keep an eye out for when you do get your rifle in. The first is going to be, 1, your bore. There's nothing that you can really do about a bore if a bore is shot out. It just is what it is. You can either deal with it, see how it shoots with particular ammos, and see if it's if it's an accuracy that you can physically adjust with with how you shoot it. Or maybe look into rebarreling or something like that. Now, the other thing I would look at is your bolt itself. So this one here, it's pretty pitted up pretty good, and I've shown that in the previous videos. But you got to make sure that the lugs themselves aren't eaten away so much to where it won't be safe to shoot. Now this one here, pretty good. Nothing really to worry about here. Like I said, it's pitted, but it's not chewed away so much to where there's any kind of engagement problem. So you can close it here, and the carrier moves, but you can see it's locked in. And you can feel by how much resistance you have right there when you pull it out. that it is locking in good. So just keep in mind, that's the two things I would say I'd really want to check out. And then the other thing I would want to check out is check out the little locking lugs or whatever they're called, the claws that keep the bolt in, just so you don't actually be shooting out in the field and when you rack it back, you pull the bolt completely out of the rifle. That'd be a, you know, bad thing to do. No go. Besides that, you know, they're pretty much like any other bolt gun. You just got to clean them up, you know, take your time with them, know what you're doing, and just have fun. Just have fun with it. You have to understand, guns like this, you're not going to be shooting it a ton. This ammo I've got here, I've got, what is it, like 8 shots of the soft point round noses. I'm saving for if I figure out the accuracy on this rifle. I don't know when I'm going to shoot these. Who knows? You know, I saved 2 Spitzers, and I saved these for some testing that I'm planning on doing here. I might shoot, you know, armor plate with it or something like that. But you're not going to shoot this rifle a ton. You're not going to buy, you know, first of all, you can't buy big surplus bundles of ammo for this thing and shoot it a ton. It's not available. It doesn't exist. Unless you got one of the ones that have been converted to 8x56, in which case you might be able to find surplus ammo out there. But the 8x50, you're not finding it in bulk. It just ain't happening. Chances are, most of the time, you're going to buy a couple boxes like this, maybe 3. Maybe you'll shoot half of each box, get a feel for the rifle, and then from there on, you're going to be single shooting this thing very, very rarely. So just keep in mind, you know, they're not rifles that are meant to go mag dump trash into, you know, like a SKS or something like that. So just remember what you're buying and what you're buying it for when you look at something like this. But besides that, I'm very happy with the rifle. It came out very, very good looking. As far as looks go, it is a gorgeous rifle. It is probably one of my favorite projects as of now as far as a restoration goes. I've done a bunch of stuff here and there, but you know, this one here, I'm really liking how this one came out overall. But big thanks to Royal Tiger Imports for sending us this rifle for the restoration video. Hopefully we're going to be working with them here in the future again. I'm going to see if they're going to send me another rifle. There's one that I've got my eyes on that I want to do, and Old South Ammo makes the ammunition for it as well. And I'll just give you a hint. It's from a country that doesn't technically exist anymore under the name that it was at the time it was in the Soviet Union. So just a hint. But yeah, besides that, guys, go check out Old South Ammo if you're looking for some 8x50. They have a bunch of other antiquated cartridges that they make. They make black powder loads, they make smokeless loads. Pretty much anything you need that's really hard to find, they got for you there. Also, I've got another rifle that I'm picking up in a pawn shop hopefully next week, a LaBelle. And maybe they'll have some ammo for that one as well, if I get around to shooting that one. Check out Royal Tiger Imports. They have a great selection of antiques. They got in some parts kits not too long ago, some FAL kits. They even have some Israeli kits right now. So if you're wanting an Israeli FAL like mine, you can build one. They have the kits right now, and they have a couple different versions of kits. And they also have apparel and other surplus stuff like that you need for any of your collection, stuff like that. And they also have a bunch of parts that are generally kind of hard to find that they get when they make these deals for these big bundles of surplus rifles. So please check them out and support the people who support us, because we support the people who support us because they support us. And you know, YouTube doesn't pay me very well because they don't like this content at all. So please, guys, check them out. Also, another thing I do want to talk about, it is the new year. It is 2025. And hopefully y'all can do me one little favor if y'all watch this far. And that's going to be like, subscribe, and share. Less than a quarter of my actual subscribers are reviewing viewers as far as my content goes and actually watch my stuff. So please If you see this video, like, subscribe, share, comment, do all that good stuff. It helps me out every more. And if I can get even just half of y'all guys to watch everything that comes out, I'll be able to do far more content because this kind of stuff isn't cheap. Getting stuff for the collection isn't cheap. Doing, buying stuff like this isn't cheap. And unfortunately, I'm a guy who has a lot of hobbies. I got a 67 Camaro in the garage I'm trying to work on. I got my duck boat I'm trying to do stuff on. I got my supercharged Jeep out there that I haven't done anything on in a few years. And I got all the other gun projects. So this stuff's not cheap to do. And on top of running a full-time business by myself, time and money can be tight. So please help me out. That way I can keep making this content. And check out the merch store if y'all want any of the cool merch that I have. And I'll see y'all guys next time with another review coming up soon. Is it gonna be a rifle? Is it gonna be a handgun? I don't know yet. I got a couple of shooting footages already preset, but I have not actually done any of the tabletop stuff yet. So we'll see. So anyways, see y'all guys next time. Y'all have a good one.